Welcome to the HR Stories Podcast, Short Story Edition. This week in our episode, we talked about the I-9s and how one company had to pay over $600,000 because they got their I-9s wrong. So in our short story today, I want to give you 8 tips, count them, 8 tips that help you get your I-9s right. Number 1, have someone audit your I-9s on a yearly basis to make sure everything is right. Number 2, make sure you're using the most up-to-date I-9 form. Now, as of this recording, you will use the one that has expired. Yes, expired 10/31/2022. Hopefully in the very near future, they will have one out for 2023. But for this moment, that's the one that's the most up to date. Use the fillable PDF on the United States Citizen and Immigration Services website. This helps reduce errors on the employee side and also on the employer side. So making sure you do that. Number 3, make sure new employees complete section 1, including the signature section, by the end of the first day for pay. Number 4, don't let them leave boxes empty. So use an A if it is not applicable. So on top of the form, it'll say last name, first name, middle initial, and then I'll say any other last names used. If they didn't use any, it would be N/A, not applicable. Number 5, provide the employees with a list of acceptable documents before they arrive at work. There's a list that comes with the I-9 called the list of acceptable documents. I highly recommend that you send that to the employee ahead of time. So when they come in for that first day, they already have their documentations. You don't need to send them home or wait for them to bring them in on the second day. Number 6, the employer should complete section 2, including the signature section, by the end of the 3rd day for pay. So before the end of the 3rd day for pay, that needs to be completed. Double check documentation, make sure it is correct for the employee. So when you're looking at that documentation that they're bringing in, you have to have a physical copy of it. So make sure you're looking at it. Make sure it's for the employee that is standing in front of you. And then finally, tip number 8, store your I-9s in 2 binders, one for active employees and one for terminated employees. Remove the expired I-9 from terminated files at the appropriate time, which is either 3 years after the start date or 1 year after termination, whichever is longest. All right, and so kind of go in there, do your little math there, and do that. So that's been your 8 tips today. Thank you for listening to the HR Stories Podcast, the short story version. Please tune into our podcast to get the full version and hear about what's happening in HR news. Thank you for listening.